All right, so I was listening to Earn Your Leisure yesterday on YouTube, and I came across one of their videos called "A Balanced Life and Success Don't Go Together," and that immediately caught my attention because that's something that I've always tried to make happen, have some sort of balance, and one of the balance even exists whenever you have big goals and big accomplishments that you want to get to. And I haven't really found balance in that respects just yet. I'm much more balanced than I was, but I just haven't found a realistic way to accomplish goals without sacrificing so much. So I'm gonna play this clip and then we'll come back to it.
Have balance. I think that the whole goal of life is to be unbalanced so you can achieve balance. But you have to be unbalanced at a certain point to achieve balance. So this isn't theory. In 2015, I was on the couch in my parents' house. Things wasn't going good for me. But that was an opportunity for me to stay up till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning and really master social media. Taught myself how to edit.
Sometimes there is no balance whenever you have big goals and big dreams to accomplish. That's just like me. Like I don't play video games. I don't really watch TV. I'm not really into watching sports. Nothing against people that do, but I just don't keep up with all of that kind of stuff. I barely listen to music because I feel like I need to be feeding my mind things that contribute to building up my knowledge and my mentality.
Variety of different things where I was just playing around with apps. Mike would give me a suggestion about this app, and then I would take 3 hours to learn the app and then make content and then do this. I had a career as a financial advisor that I had to do from 9 to 5 or longer. And then from 9 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the morning when everybody was asleep and it was cemetery silence, I could close the blinds and I would work. That was extremely unbalanced and continued that even now, right? But these are sacrifices that were made 8 years ago to get me to the point where I am now.
And big goals always requires big sacrifice. And so when I think back on my life and how I miss so much, just working through holidays on my business, working through Christmas, Thanksgiving. I remember we're out here in Houston. I remember when it was a hurricane. I'm working on my business during a hurricane. When it was a freeze out here in Texas, a lot of people lost power. Luckily, I didn't really lose power for long, but I worked on my business. I worked late into the night for years. Sometimes I remember staying up for days at a time, which I wouldn't do that today. But all of those things were required in order for me to achieve specific goals that I set out for myself and for my family. And I knew once these goals were accomplished, then I could then on some level find some sense of balance.
So I think that the idea or the fairy tale of a balanced life is something that is unrealistic for anybody that's trying to achieve greatness, especially if you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner. So it's your responsibility to be able to communicate this to your wife, significant other, children, and they have to understand how to deal with disappointment.
And yeah, I've worked around the clock before. And let me tell you, it's lonely, it's hard, and it can get depressing. I remember the first time I hit six figures, which was in 2017 in my business. And I had like the biggest year ever at that time. And even though that was a year where I made the most money, I remember being that was the year that I was most depressed. I was more depressed than I ever had been. Why? I mean, you would think that making a lot of money, man, you made more money than you ever seen before up to that point, you would be happy. And I wasn't really that happy. I had to sacrifice time with my wife and kid. And that's another thing. My wife was very understanding. She didn't nag me about working too much. She didn't tell me to stop what I was doing because she understood the mission. But I knew other relationships where a woman will want to leave their man who is pursuing their dreams because of the time commitment it takes for one to accomplish that. But one thing I always did, because my family was always important to me, right, was I always made time for family gatherings happen. I always made the time whenever there was a family gathering. Even if I had to get up early and work on my business that morning, I had a set time to finish. Now, I didn't make all of the family gatherings, but I made most of them. There were times where I had family gatherings at my home, and while my family and friends were there having a good time and celebrating, I was there working sun up to sundown to meet customer deadlines. It was tough, man. And I didn't like to do it, but I knew that my family depended on me to get us to the next level.
Because the sacrifices that you're making are luxuries that they're provided. So this is an unbalanced life that I've never seen anybody that has had any level of balance that have achieved a high level of success. When we met.
Right. And even though subconsciously I knew that there was probably not going to be a real balance, this show with Earn Your Leisure was confirmation for me. Even though I'm more balanced now than I ever have been, I still work hard. But I realized that, one, I can't do it all. I was one of those people that felt like they had to chase every opportunity. I compared this type of thinking to a juggler, right? At some point, when you're juggling so many things, eventually, you're going to drop the ball. It's, or the saying, if you chase two rabbits, most likely you're not gonna catch any one of them, right? And this was one of the most valuable lessons I've learned, even though I'm stuck with this mentality that I can't only do one thing and get it. I hear people saying, someone who does multiple businesses is someone who is most likely broke or is just going to be average at best. And this could be true in a lot of cases. But I have had times where having multiple streams of income saved my household when one income totally folded on me, right? So yes, that can be true. And I would encourage other people out there to master one thing first. But for me, I know that I am not fulfilled with that mentality of being interested in only one thing. But look, the key thing here is not to bite off more than you can chew. Building one business is hard enough, right? And I also realized that over the years, I've also realized that I don't have to be a millionaire, as in having millions of dollars in the bank. Do I want that? Of course I want that. But I'd rather build an income stream of 30 to 40K a month, and I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I don't have to have success on the level of a Bill Gates or an Elon Musk, because that level of success takes a crazy amount of sacrifice. I'm talking about totally disregarding family and friends. I wish I would have spent more time with my grandpa before he passed away. I wish I would have spent more time with my kid when she was younger. I want to spend more time with my dad and my grandmother because now she's 86. And I feel like those things are important. More so now than I did before. Now, this brother right here mentioned that you have to be unbalanced in the beginning to one day become balanced. So basically, you kind of front load the beginning stages of your mission, right? So that later on you can have more time with your family and your friends. And I did that. That's why I'm in a stage now where I look for balance a little bit more now than I did. And I call it making deposits into my emotional bank account. Because if I don't have some sense of balance, I'll feel empty inside. And I think, what if I had all of these millions of dollars and no one to share it with, right? Would I really care about the money that I made then? I had a talk with a family member recently who told me about me being the beneficiary of their estate if anything was to happen. And I would be set up in a very good position. But I didn't even think twice about the money, you know? In fact, I said in my head, of course, man, forget that money, man. I can't imagine losing y'all. The money wouldn't do anything for me because there would be an empty place in my heart, right? And so I know I have a 2-year-old son, right? And I work, but I have rules set in place so that I can actually pour into my son and enjoy him as he grows. This actually brings me more joy than just focusing on money all the time. One of my favorite things to do in the world is just to watch my son and interact with him and my daughter, who is a teenager now. So, she may not think dad is as cool as he was when she was younger. But either way, that's just teenage stuff. But either way, I feel it's my duty to instill my values into both of them. And that requires more than just showing them with money. But I have experienced life with zero balance. And I have learned to strategically create a sense of balance in my life. And is it perfect? Maybe not perfect, because I am happy pursuing my goals. And that's why I don't really watch TV, as I said earlier. I don't play video games. I can't tell you the stats of a professional athlete or who won last night's game, because I am very strategic about where my time goes. And most often, it's either spending time with family or working on those goals, with the occasional celebration of wins in between. Of course, you have to continue to date. If you're in a relationship, you got a girlfriend, you got a wife, fiance. Yeah, you have to date, and you have to continue to enjoy life on a certain level. But my point is, if you are strategic with your time, you can have some sense of balance. But yeah, it is very hard in the beginning to have any type of balance, right? In the beginning, like these brothers were talking about, you're probably gonna have to, like I mentioned earlier, you gotta front load the grind. That's why when you're in your 20s, preferably before you have kids and a family, you have the luxury to go all in on your goals and setting yourself up to have balance later. So in a sense, I agree to you that, in a sense, I agree, you will be unbalanced for a certain period of time. But there is no one size fits all when it comes to this subject of balance. But whether you think that you have balance or not, for sure, you better take care of your health. you better find time to work out because health is wealth. You could be the richest man in the world, but if your health is poor, what advantage do you have, right? When it comes to relationships, you have women who will leave you for struggling financially, and you will have women who leave you for working too much. So that all boils down to the characteristics of the woman that you choose. For me, I will make time for my family, but I'm going to make just enough time to reach those goals as well that I've set out for myself. And you should figure out what works best for you. All in all, man, I think this was a great conversation. It's good to hear the perspective from these very successful brothers who shared their philosophy for success, as well as other very successful brothers that they've had on their podcast and that they've spoken to share kind of an insight on what their lives look like. Other successful people and how they've had to be unbalanced for a certain amount of time. And so I think it just gives people a better idea of what to decide for themselves. So great broadcast, man. I really enjoyed this message, man. Shout out to Earn Your Leisure, man. If y'all haven't subscribed to their channel, man, y'all check them out. And be sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit that like button below, and I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one.